we always knew Bray was getting called up to the roster. We didn't know we were. We were told by Bill DeMott, me and Brodie were told we weren't getting called up.
Well, it's a pleasure to be speaking with you. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this.
Yeah, no problem. Pleasure's mine.
I don't know if everybody knows your real name is Joseph Rude. And I feel like maybe growing up, as a wrestling fan for you growing up, did you feel like, you were immediately attached to Rick Rude because of the last name?
No, I never really got a lot of kids at school comparing the two. But, yeah, I had a joke saying that you got my mother pregnant in Norway. It was a mark or something, like when I was coming up on the Indies. But no, I never used the Rude name.
I mean, you could. It's spelled differently, but that'd be a great wrestling name.
Yeah.
So you're going by Erick Redbeard now. It seems obviously looking at you, why that is the name. But what kind of thought went into this being the name?
It's pretty easy. All my handles were already Erick Redbeard anyway. But I guess the most obvious part is when I got let go, I'm like, okay, I've basically been banished, exiled from this big company, this big land, and another guy who was banished from a land and had to make a name for himself was Erick the Red. So I'm like, all right, I've got a red beard. I already had the name Erick, the moniker people know me by. What the hell? So easy. It's an easy transition for me.
Do you feel like you've been banished? Is that what letting go feels like?
I mean, going from being used every week, having no inkling that I was going to be let go, told the last day I was used that I was in good standing with the company, to just a complete blindside and just bye-bye, see you later. No thanks for your service, just goodbye. Have fun during the COVID.
Huh.
That was the kind of the initial blindside and bitterness of it all. Yeah, you feel banished and cast aside.
Was there any lead up to this? Like you said, I remember you in another interview saying you talked to Paul Heyman and said, "Am I going to be okay?" And it was actually Heyman that said, "You're going to be fine."
Yeah, I mean, I thought I was doing well. I started to get a character I really felt like was most me, and how I was feeling disrespected with the whole Daniel Bryan, Roman Reigns storyline. Things were looking bright for me, I thought. And then the draft happened, and I was informed I'd have a cage, and I basically wouldn't talk no more, which was a giant step back. But you do your job because you do it to the best of your ability, and you hope they have some sort of plan for you, because why else would they be using you so much? So as many ideas as I pitched during the whole cage storyline, fell on deaf ears, whatnot. You always feel disheartened when you're like, okay, well, it's going to be this thing. It's going to be the spider, which was obviously fake. I still pitched stuff the following week to maybe make that spider work, as maybe that wasn't exactly what it was, but have a twist on it. Was told this is what it was. You're working Drew. Got to get him ready for Brock, so you can't get any offense in, which is never something you want to hear when you have a match with somebody of the caliber of a Drew, McIntyre. Yeah. You have a great match, big house fight. And, you got like a 4-minute segment to get the business done. The cage gets killed, and, when I'm informed of you're not going to get any offense on the guy, and we're killing this gimmick, which I didn't. If it was going to be the spider and that's what it was, I'm just happy it was dead. But I was upset that my ideas weren't, thought through enough to say, okay, we'll use those, because this spider thing obviously wasn't going to go anywhere anyway, because they killed it. So I went to Heyman and I said, hey, am I okay? I couldn't make this work. I feel bad I couldn't make it work, because I'm proud of what I do in the ring and at work. Because it is, it's an art, that what we do. You're given whatever on a piece of paper, and you have to make it work the best to your ability as a performer. It's no different than acting. If you want to act out a scene, it could be the crappiest script you've ever written in your life. But you try to make it work to the best of your ability, because that's your job.
Yeah.
And when I couldn't make it work to the best, that I thought I could make it work, maybe it's because a mix of, my creative ideas being tossed aside and this and that. But yeah, directly to my face, he says, "Don't worry, we're killing the cage. Better things are coming. You are in good standing with the company."
Wow.
And now that I look back, now that I look back at it, I was like, was he chastising me? Did he know something I didn't know?
Huh. Sounds like he was working you.
Yeah, but why? But why
Yeah.
tell me something like that? And then this whole thing hit, and I wasn't used at all during that whole time so I was just kind of sitting at home. So, if I'm going to sit at home, I might as well, be let go and not be making money, because I'm not doing a job.
Sure. When you were first pitched this cage idea, what was the original plan supposed to be? What was the original payoff supposed to be?
Original payoff. Well, first it was me saying what and why, and I was very miserable backstage. I think the first day I found out, I had it out. I did like 3 things backstage that day, and I was like, "What the hell are we doing? What am I talking to here?" So I kind of explained, my concerns about going from where I was to this cage and the downsides of it. And the way they said it, they tried to make it seem like it was a good thing. Like, oh, well, you're going to work said babyface because said babyface is going to kill what's ever in that cage accidentally. It's going to drive you on a rampage where I can go back to that crazy, kind of psychotic, unstable character, which I want it to be.
Yeah.
And then that babyface turned heel, and they kept extending the cage gimmick, just a long period of time. And that's when I started pitching different things to be in the cage because it was drawing so much interest. But at a certain point, you have to show them what's in this cage, and it has to deliver. Yeah. And so I pitched something I thought would have delivered, and I was told, no, it's going to be this. And yeah, it's just what it was. And
but when you're first given this idea and they say you're going to carry this cage around, I imagine one of the first questions you ask is, okay, well, what's in the cage? So initially, what was the idea?
Initially, it was supposed to be a rat.
A rat?
Yes, like a sewer rat.
Okay. And then when there was a time when a wrestler had his head put in there and all this blood was on his face, was it still a rat at that point in time?
No, then it was, we don't know what it is. But I think they knew it was a spider all along because they were having this mechanical spider being built this whole time, but not telling the guy that was carrying the cage. So,
wow.
Yeah, it was just one of those things. And, you like to think they would have had a better plan for it, but, it just happens on the foil who had to carry it around.
Well, there was a lot of buildup to it. I mean, people were very interested to see what was going to be inside of it.
Yeah, until everybody felt like it was going to be disappointed no matter what.
I feel like you might have been disappointed when they showed you this spider and you went, "Oh, that's it."
I was highly disappointed and kept trying to change their mind up until the day I was basically said, "Nope, we have the No Way Jose segment. This is happening right now." And I didn't even know for sure it was happening until I started filming it, and that was when the show had already started.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk too much about the cage because there's so much other stuff in your career, but what were some of the other ideas that you had for this that would have been a better ending to it?
See, people always say it's better to say things in hindsight, but I actually pitched these things when I was there. So it's kind of funny that actually one idea that I had kept getting extended and extended. Because originally I liked the whole rat idea. I liked the idea of this babyface accidentally killing something that I held dear to me.
Yeah, sure.
And I loved that story that would tell, and would be able to show a different dimension if they gave you the time to show it and convey that emotion on television, which they barely ever gave me anyway. But specifically, I wrote a big pitch out to Heyman to show Vince, and it was with I would have the cage built just slightly bigger. And for one appearance on TV, I wanted to bring in the lady who played Ma Petite for American Horror Story.
Wow.
She's a SAG actress from India, one of the smallest women in the world.
Yeah.
So she's got acting experience and entertainment experience, and it would have been the shock and awe of me having a relationship with this little woman, kind of like a blossoming friendship that you could see and you could have a scene, because she's a tremendous actress from what I've seen in that show.
Yeah.
And just the unveiling of me taking her out the cage, and my whole pitch was, I'm not locking her in the cage because I'm some weird creep that wants to kidnap a woman. I'm locking her in the cage because I know how horrible the outside world is, and I wanted to lock her away to keep her safe from the atrocities that is out there, because the Erick Rowan character, his whole life was treated so badly by everybody around him. I mean, you had Brody Harper slapping me every week. You had Bray as the cult leader. You had Strowman just taking like the black mask and trying to be, imitate me and try to be the better version of me, which as a character was very interesting. And we should have been able to tell all these stories, but we never had the time. It was just always stuff in the background. So this was all stuff I wanted to pitch with her. And then since she's not a wrestler and not a regular on the television program, we could have brought her in for one day, and we always filmed so much stuff throughout the day. We could have filmed 2 or 3 weeks of television if it had her just for one day. So I was pitching, we could show the relationship bosom for, a couple weeks, and then something horrible happens to her and she dies, which sends me on a rampage, and you see a different side of me, whether it be I turn face or heel. I thought there was enough interest where it would create a fun story for people to get invested in and want to know what happens next week. Because they were starting to do it with the cage, but they let it go so long that this was the only thing I could think of or close to at that moment that would have done it justice. And I'm really upset that it didn't, go through, and why a spider was a better idea. But I tried to make the spider work too, and you talk about different pitches. The week they showed the spider, I went back and I said, okay, this is not going to work. It was clearly fake. I said, I wrote another pitch. This went into Heyman again because he's the creative with Vince, and I pitched, okay, well, if that didn't work, I'm a big fan of horror movies and serial killers and stuff like that. Not what they do, but I'm just a fan of like the true crime genre and watching horror movies and the different character development of those people. And one of the things I thought about was like the movie It. I was like, Pennywise is basically the reincarnation of your worst fears. So what if a character, it wouldn't be weird for a character to, like the Erick Rowan character, of to just stalk somebody, not in the creepy sense, but in a sense to be able to find out what that person's worst fear is.
Yeah.
So the Congo line is deathly afraid of spiders. Maybe I'm afraid of blood, so whenever I put it in, I cut myself because I'm afraid of my own blood, and I had to overcome my own fear. So I had the whole pitch where that would be the character, and we would have to look into everybody's own worst fears. So I would basically be beating up the babyface Satnat, and that babyface would have to overcome his worst fear to beat me. I thought that would be another very interesting thing. And you could do it with everybody, because everybody has fears.
Sure.
As big and bad as a wrestler is, like, he's going to have a fear because he's a person, and everyone has a fear.
Both of these ideas are infinitely better than a mechanical spider.
But, the spider prevailed and was killed. They thought it was better to kill the spider than to use that idea and try to salvage whatever they had. I thought that would have been an ultimate swerve to the fans, too.
Yeah.
Because the fans always like to think they know whatever they see in front of them.
Sure.
But they did. I thought this would have showed a great dimension and a good swerve.
It would also be a good recovery from like, it was just the spider, but the next week it's, something else that another wrestler's afraid of. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
But I guess, the problem is the spider got killed, and so did your momentum in this too.
Yeah, but, it's not for lack of trying.
Sure. But since then, you've taken a lot of this creativity that you have, and I know you've been doing some acting as well. Spent a good chunk of time on a movie set right after getting released. Can you tell us a bit about this film?
I mean, I don't know really how much I can tell you. It's a movie called Ghosts of the Ozarks. It was filmed in Arkansas. It was one of the first productions back after the COVID. So it was very strict sets where you wear a mask besides when you're shooting. You have tests almost weekly. All extras were tested before they're allowed on set. It was a really safe environment, but also for me, it was a great creative outlet for me and a challenge. I'm very proud of the work I did in the movie because it's a different side of me that anybody's ever seen. It's not the big psycho, killer wrestler. It's the guy with multiple layers and dimensions, and I'm very excited to see how the performance turns out with the rest of the talented crew that they had.
Are you in the Screen Actors Guild now?
That actually got me in the Screen Actors Guild.
Oh, so, well, yeah. Congratulations.
So hopefully more opportunities come. I've been doing quite a bit of auditioning right now. So
that's great. Well, I'm an actor as well. I do some auditions. I can't imagine that you and I would ever be at the same auditions together. Feel like the roles you might be up for would be vastly different than the ones I would be up for.
No, it's fun though. Just doing the auditioning part of it. I know during COVID, you get a script and it's like you got to film yourself during these self tapes, and it's
sure.
It's a little intimidating at first, but I've done a few of them now, and I'm having a lot more fun with them. You
must look at an audition though now and go, oh, that's all I need to learn. Like I would learn pages and pages when I was at WWE.
No, now I look at it a little different, where I look at a backstory of whatever character is given. I'm looked at motivation for what the scene's about. So it's a little different that way, where I'm given a little bit more context, and I have my imagination to go a certain way with it. And then hopefully either director likes it or he doesn't like it. So that's like the fun part for me. It's more creativity and more willingness. That's what surprised me most about being on set is there's a lot more willingness to go with your ideas and your gut. And it creates a confidence in you as a performer that, I think is lacking in a lot of people in wrestling today, because they second guess so many things because they're told a certain thing. And I think that's really sad. But it's just the way it is.
If we take it back, speaking of backstory, if we take it back to when you first got signed to WWE, you were in developmental, you're Erick Rowan. Who was that Erick Rowan before the Wyatt family came along?
Oh, that Erick Rowan was just a naive kid. No, I was I tried a Viking character because I came from the Indies under my grandfather's name was Thorolf Marius Rude. So I was Thorolf Marius, the Scandinavian powerhouse, the typical foreign heel. But when I was out there, I kind of just stuck with like a Viking type character. I drank mead out of my drinking horn and would try to spit it in the ring to I was told I was popping the boys too much when we would do promos. So I was told that that would never work, the Viking gimmick.
Isn't popping the boys supposed to be a good thing?
Well, you think it would in hindsight. Yeah. But I wouldn't change anything into what everything did become. And I would say the Erick Rowan character was probably the most evolved character up there. I mean, if you think about it, I'm a guy in the background. I'm a genius. I'm a psychopath with many different masks. I become like a kind of a version of Leatherface meets Michael Myers. Then I go off and I basically I was in a cult. I quit the cults. I'm still a psychopath, but I'm a genius. And then I quit being a genius and I find my old friends again and we join the cults. And then I say, oh no, I don't want to be in the cult. So let's grab hammers. And me and my buddy, we left the cult, but we just want to beat up everybody because we were mindlessly following somebody for so long. And then me and him are torn apart. And then I find Daniel, and I become an eco-friendly warrior. And then I say, well, wait a second. This guy keeps talking in front of me. He's just like Bray. So he's the so why am I following this knucklehead? I need to make a name for myself. So then I beat up him and Roman, and then I get back with my old buddy, but then he leaves me, and then I go off on my own and find a cage because it's the only friend I could have. So that's like the wide story they gave me.
That was your whole WWE career in a nutshell, right there.
It's like the crazy soap opera journey that you have to tie in all the pieces and try to make it all work together for motivation on whatever character you have.
Yeah,
because you're still the same character. It's not like Rocky Maivia is different than The Rock. They're two different people. It's not the same guy. So but
you've got this through line with the character.
Yeah. So I always thought about that sort of stuff. I just wasn't able to express it or show it.
I don't think that a lot of wrestlers think about it in that way. Like you've dug deep into this well beyond just the promos you had to cut or couldn't cut and the matches that you had.
Oh yeah.
How difficult was it for you to wrestle or see through that mask?
Oh, so the original mask was like little tiny dot eye holes.
Yeah.
Which is why I switched to the latex plastic mask, and I was a background guy because Bray was the leader, and then Brodie was number 2 who always showed all the facials and the promos, and then there was me who was always in the mask. So I was like, I couldn't see out the first one, but let's make the first one look cooler. So that's when I got with Tom Savini and Jason Baker. We created the second version of the Wyatt mask, and then I started up until like the Bludgeon Brothers and the big horns and stuff like that. Even Luke's mask that he wore with the Bludgeons was made by those guys. But like it all started because I couldn't see, and then it became, well, how can we make this look like a different one, and how can we make this look like part of you but tell a story? So that's when I started doing different paint jobs. I think I had the clown one for a little bit. Like I had the gas mask one, which I thought was like the precursor to COVID. The protection mask.
Yeah.
But I always thought about being in the background and what would make me stick out more. And
were you able to see through that mask enough to appreciate how incredible the entrance was when you were with the Wyatt family?
Oh yeah, especially when I had the second versions made where I could see everything. It had like the mesh over the eye. See, I could be under that mask laughing my ass off and no one would be able to tell.
The first time, or do you remember the first time when you really started seeing that reaction with the, quote unquote fireflies in the audience when you guys would have your entrance?
Oh yeah, it was incredible.
Do you remember it probably started as a few, flashlights at first, and then after a few weeks, it was pretty much everybody in the arena.
Oh yeah. And I remember specifically we weren't even supposed to do anything that Mania, but it was me, Bray, and Braun, and we were told that we were going to do that thing with The Rock and Cena. And from not doing anything to be able to get that entrance and see 100,000 flickering lights, that was a really cool moment, because that's probably the most lights you're going to see in an indoor arena.
Well, you're also skipping over the part that you had a WrestleMania match with The Rock.
Oh yeah, if you blink your eye, it probably passed. But yeah, better doing nothing that day, I tell you that.
But you can still say, you had a WrestleMania match with The Rock.
Yeah, I could.
I think that was The Rock's. I think that's The Rock's last match.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
When was this added to WrestleMania? When was your entrance in that segment added in?
Literally the week of WrestleMania. Yeah.
And was it always like you're going to have, Eric, you're going to have this match with The Rock?
I think I found out 3 days before.
Wow.
Yeah.
Were you could we make it 8 seconds, not just 6?
Let me get a punch.
But from the start, it was going to be, the quickest match possible with The Rock.
Yes. And I don't know if he had some sort of deal where he couldn't do a lot of physicality or, I get that, big, was he the highest paid actor in the world right now. So yeah. I get that.
Well, now that you're into acting, that can be you next.
Oh no, I don't want to get paid that much. It's too much responsibility with lots of money.
Imagine you talked to Dwayne backstage as you were preparing for this. Did he impart any sort of wisdom or insight that you were like, I never thought about it in this way?
He was cool about the moment. I'm a little bit taller than Dwayne, so having that moment, that face-to-face moment was pretty cool. I'm glad that it wasn't just like, let's go. So yeah, that was really, really cool just to have that moment, have that stare off. I think there was a picture of it, like, I'm like, all right, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. You had the WrestleMania stare down with The Rock. It really doesn't get much better than that.
No, that's cool. Now you always wish you could have a story, but hey, let's not get too selfish.
What was the call like when you got the call up and the Wyatt family was beginning and you guys were about to form this faction?
So when it kind of all got thrown together, Bray and Luke were always kind of in it together. They had filmed vignettes. I still was doing a Viking thing. I was told that wasn't going to work during that time. And then it wasn't until I think the week of an NXT taping, I was told, okay, well, you're going to be the second son. We had done some promos back, with them. I didn't know what I was wearing. I wore pajamas and rocked around in a pig mask. And we just tried different things. And then I think I get to the TV tapings. I was going to work Oliver Gray in some squash match, but be introduced as the second son of the Wyatts. And I was like, I don't got anything to wear. What am I going to wear? I got Viking symbol on the back of my black trunks. So I got a pair of maroon trunks with another Viking symbol. I was like, I can't wear that. Can't wear jeans because Brodie's wearing jeans at the time. I'm like, well, what am I going to wear? And I happened to have a pair of old coveralls from a Norwegian reality show I did that were still just in the trunk of my car. And I'm like, well, if I cut the sleeves off of this, and it was really tight, they didn't fit me too well, but I was like, would this work? And it was like a green jumpsuit. And that's how that worked. It just happened to be in the trunk of my car.
Wow.
And then
if that wasn't in the trunk of your car, what were you going to wear?
Probably a pair of pajamas. And then fast forward to when we get called up onto the roster. We always knew Bray was getting called up to the roster. We didn't know we were. We were told by Bill DeMott, me and Brodie were told we weren't getting called up. So then they're filming these vignettes, and then we're like, oh, well, they're going to need you for the vignettes. So, but are we getting called up? And then Bray's like, yeah, you guys are getting called up. And then Bill's like, no, you guys aren't getting called up. It's like, well, what the hell? But this is another thing where I get to the vignette and I just happen to have all these masks in my backseat still from all these promos we were trying months ago, 4 or 5 months ago. And one of them was just a Party City sheet mask. And I think we're filming with Chris Chambers, and I pull it out of my trunk and I say, what do you think about this? Can we use this in this vignette? Because Dusty, who was also there, he was the guy doing all the promos for NXT FCW. And I remember I tried some of these masks with him, and he's like, no, baby, we want to see your face. It's ugly. It's money, And so I was like, all right, I get it. And then when I was there, it's just like, I really like that sheet mask stuff. So I'm like, hey, what about this? And they're like, okay, yeah. And then that's how that happened. So it's just a matter of me having stuff in my trunk. So it's just like everything got thrown together, blind look. And now
you can't think about you didn't clean your car out.
Yeah, you can't think about the Wyatts without, that Hawaiian shirt, fedora, and the lamb mask. So they all kind of just got put together.
I imagine you've been keeping tabs on what Brodie's been doing since he was let go. What do you think of his work in AEW?
He's happy. he gets to boss people around. What's not happy about that?
Is that a place you think you could end up?
it's wrestling. You never say never. Um, Me and him have always been joined at the hip. I know he had very, very high singles aspirations where he wants to be the world champion and all that. To me, I just want to wrestle and have fun doing it and be creative, whether it's a character backstage and doing that. I have fun doing just that stuff. I have fun in the ring. Like, I have fun doing the tag stuff. Like, I don't care either way. I just love performing. He wants to be the best in the world at what he does. Like, he's very meticulous with how he is in the ring, and I want to give him a chance. I don't want to step on any toes. I don't want to be there. Oh, here I am again. Like let him do what he wants to do, and I'm sure we're going to come around and do something in the future together. But for right now, let him do his own thing. Let me do my own thing, and let's meet back, in year whatever.
You could be a great opponent for him. Be a great storyline.
Yeah, that's another thing. I thought we could have had a good feud. I think the only time we got to fight was just kind of thrown together last minute, semi-main. I think we had like 8-minute marathon at like a backlash in between like a championship match and a championship match. And
yeah,
that wasn't fair. But
yeah,
we could have a great feud too in the future. But yeah, great guy.
It's been a while since we've seen you back in the ring. Do you have goals or aspirations for where you'd like to end up?
I mean, with COVID right now, my last match was in front of a full live crowd. I don't really feel the need to rush it. Maybe because I'm got my mind occupied doing other things as well. So like my foot's not necessarily on that gas, revving, trying to get going like some of these other guys are. I saw Impact, a lot of guys I'm very happy for are over there right now doing some stuff. But like, it's just a matter of like, do I really want to go in front of a crowd of nobody? Like, and it's the same thing. You're going to have bosses, and I'm so weird about how stuff works in WWE. I have to be talked into something, and if it's going to be good for my benefit, and as well as the benefit of the company,
well, AEW is starting to bring fans back in. Reduced amount of fans, but I think their next taping is going to have 10% capacity. So there's the option there. The fans in the crowd, and there'd be a reaction.
Yeah, but obviously, I love wrestling. I started getting back into ring here. Been in a few times in the last few weeks, just getting that ring rust off.
Yeah,
because it's still fun to get in the ring. My heart's not completely blackened to wrestling.
But I don't know if everyone realizes you spent almost 10 years in WWE, and I think a lot of people might think it's shorter because they only saw you on TV for, I guess, a little bit less amount of time, but that's 10 years of your life.
Yeah, and what a lot of people don't understand is during that 10 years, we were working probably 3 to 4 days a week that you didn't see on television. Yeah. So we put our bodies through quite a bit. So this break's been kind of amazing for my body. I tell you, when I filmed that movie, we did a couple of action scenes, and I'm like, that's it. My body feels great.
So as you sit here right now, is there anything that's still paining you? Anything that's still hurting you?
I mean, my pride.
Your pride.
But no, man. Luckily, during this COVID, I was able to build a gym in my garage, which a lot of people ended up doing. Now that the gyms are opening, please sell your used equipment for cheap. I will purchase it. I will purchase your equipment. But no, I've been able to get in better shape. I'd say than I was, but no legging injuries or anything I can think of. My wife doesn't hear me complain as much about rolling out of bed. That's a good thing.
The wife not complaining as much, or you not complaining to the wife as much. That's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
When you first got teamed up with Bray, did you instantly see the genius that he had and the creativity that he had?
Uh, I saw them know who his character was. He was very good at describing who he was as a character, and that's hard to do, to have the writers know who you are. And his writers always seemed to know who he was. He changed around his promos and get him going to make him his, but like for the most part, they knew who he was. He was very good at articulating that, and that was very interesting. From a character standpoint, it's incredible what he's been able to do.
He's like reinvented himself.
Yeah. Lately, I don't know what's going on with The Fiend. I think after the whole Goldberg situation, it kind of changed things for The Fiend. So, but he's good at changing around what he has got to do. So he'll be fun.
I should have asked you this earlier, but what is this shirt you're wearing?
This one's an Ailstorm shirt.
Oh yeah, your beard was in the way a little bit. Okay,
Yeah.
You're a massive metal fan.
I mean, I like all genres, but yes, metal is up there.
If you're a fan of all genres, what's something on your playlist that we would look at and go, Erick Rowan, Erick Redbeard listens to that?
Ooh, I mean, I could go. They got Ian Noah. It's a kid that sounds kind of like Bob Dylan.
Okay.
Under that same label, you got Coulter Wall. It's a country singer. Really young kid. It's got a very deep vibrato, outlaw country type music. Kind of like a mix of Johnny Cash, Willie Nelson. So it's just a little bit of different genres. We got the folk music. I listened to a little Glenn Hassard. He was in the Swell season.
These are some deep cuts here.
So my wife laughs. I took her to a Terry Reid concert. He's another folkish singer, but he was very popular in the 70s. And he always talks about how he was going to be in Led Zeppelin, but turned it down. And that was a true story. He introduced, I think, Robert Plant and the other.
I don't know. Yeah.
I'm drawing. My Led Zeppelin facts are out. The lead singer of Led Zeppelin was not Robert Plant.
People in the comments are going to be very angry.
Now I feel like I failed in my musical
I'm failing
knowledge.
Too.
I'm blaming this on wrestling.
Yeah, you know what? I will look this up and we'll be like, oh, of course, yes. Robert Plant, Jimmy Page.
Yes, he introduced those two.
There you go. Wow,
right. Jimmy Page. Everyone. I know Bonham was the drummer for you.
Yeah. I can't picture you going to you're a giant. You're a giant man. You're almost 7 feet tall with a giant red beard. I can't picture you being at like a folk country concert.
I enjoy all music, man, but I do miss going to shows. I do miss that.
Me too. I just can't imagine in real life, like you can't exactly blend in when you look like that and you're as big as you are in real life. Like you stand out everywhere you go, right?
For the most part, yeah.
What do people instantly think your profession is?
Sometimes it's football player. Sometimes it's basketball player. Sometimes I think I'm a tattoo artist. Sometimes I think I'm in a band.
Yeah, maybe they think you're a biker.
Yeah, my favorite is you look like a wrestler.
Well, that's a nice compliment, right?
Yeah. I usually say, no, I can't do
that. No, I'm in a band, actually. Yeah, that must be it. So what have you been doing with your time? You've had obviously a lot more free time since April. What have you been doing with your free time?
Spending a lot of time with the family, with the kids. It's weird. It's like the most time I've had off outside of an injury in the last 10 years. So it's a lot of spare time on my hands, and it just gets me thinking and about what's next, and gets me excited, because whenever you're out from something you love for so long, you get that itch, and you get that itch to perform. Luckily, I was given an outlet for a few months here to do something that I didn't think anything would ever get me as excited as wrestling got me, or as fulfilled after, and I think that's what was exciting to me. It's like after you film a good scene, it was like being in the ring again. It was like having that high of a crowd when you finish filming like a scene that you're proud of. Like, it got me excited because I'm like, okay, I don't just need to wrestle. I can do other things. And it just gets you excited for the future. Yeah. And, with the whole COVID, everything slowed down. So I'm just very excited for the future. And like I said, I'm in no rush for wrestling. I'm not on no sprint. I want to do it right, and I want things to take time and come together.
I like that. I like that you want to make sure it's the right decision for you and for your character. Are we going to see like an evolved version of what we were seeing, kind of like that guy that was beating everyone up and being a total badass? Is that where you think you're headed with the character?
Yeah, as long as he gets as long as he can tell a story, and I don't want to be the character that's just mean all the time. I want to have layers to me, and I want to be able to show those layers. I think that's exciting for me, to actually have a storyline, which is something I was barely given a chance to do, was have a storyline.
Yeah.
I was always just thrown gimmicks, and that's not a storyline.
Yeah.
Like, that's not the thing. I want something you can sink your teeth into, because when I sink my teeth into something, I think it's when I perform my best.
Well, we're all looking forward to you sinking your teeth into whatever it happens to be, whenever that happens to be. Thank you so much for your time today. This has been great.
Yeah, no problem. It's been a blast.
I look forward to seeing you back in the ring. And I hope that when that does happen, I hope you get more mic time, because the little bits that we were able to see were fantastic. And I just think that you need more of that.
So do I.
Thank you so much, Joseph.
Yeah, no problem.
What an interesting guy. Super creative, too. I hope you were able to see a side of Erick Redbeard here that you maybe didn't get a chance to see on TV. The depth that he puts into these characters, the thought he puts into the backstory is incredible. And speaking of TV, where do you think we'll see him next? Where do you think Erick Redbeard should be wrestling next? I feel like there's a few places that would be a good fit for him. But drop a comment below and let me know where you think he should debut. Also, if you like listening to these interviews, if you have the video on but you don't watch us, my podcast is also a great place you can just listen to the interviews. Search for The Chris Van Vliet Show wherever you listen to podcasts. We also give you a little behind the scenes, just some stuff that maybe you didn't see or hear during these interviews. So The Chris Van Vliet Show, very original name for a podcast, right? See you there.